On this channel, we have covered many stories of AI psychosis before, but this one is different. It's more like AI trolling than AI psychosis. Respect, but it's a little devious for my taste. I know there's going to be people in the comments that say the AI can't troll, it doesn't work like that. Well, you hear the whole story and then you tell me if it can troll. Was it intentional? Maybe not, but the results were devastating for a man's reputation. Maybe it's an AI whoopsie, but that's really splitting hairs there. Okay, this is from the New York Times. The article is called "Chatbots Can Go into Delusional Spirals." Here's how that happens. This is by Kashmir and Dylan Freedman. It's fantastic reporting, and they had to do a lot of reading for this. That is why I give them $1 a month so I can keep subscribing. They deserve every penny of that $1. Anyway, Toronto corporate recruiter Allan Brooks had his life thrown into utter disarray because he asked ChatGPT for help with his son's math homework. Now, Brooks has no history of mental illness, and the therapist who saw him actually said that he was not mentally ill, and that is the big difference between Brooks and some of the other stories that we have covered. No mental illness here. Here we go. For 3 weeks in May, the fate of the world rested on the shoulders of a corporate recruiter on the outskirts of Toronto. Allan Brooks, 47, had discovered a novel mathematical formula, one that could take down the internet and power inventions like a force field vest and a levitation beam. Or so he believed. Here is a picture of Brooks with his little dog. He looks like a dad that we all know. He does look like a regular guy, and he actually is a regular guy. Now, it says the chat spanned 3,000 pages. Like, damn, dude, you could have read the whole of The Lord of the Rings twice on that. It all began on a Tuesday afternoon with an innocuous question about math. Mr. Brooks' 8-year-old son asked him to watch a sing-songy video about memorizing 300 digits of pi. His curiosity piqued. Mr. Brooks asked ChatGPT to explain the never-ending number in simpler terms. Math homework strikes again. I love it. The article says that Brooks had used ChatGPT before for a few years, actually. It says, "I always felt like it was right," Mr. Brooks said. "The trust level I had with it grew." Now, he did use Gemini for work through his employer, which is another chatbot. The question about pi led to a wide-ranging discussion about number theory and physics, with Mr. Brooks expressing skepticism about current methods for modeling the world, saying they seem like a two-dimensional approach to a four-dimensional universe. ChatGPT told him the observation was incredibly insightful. It continues. "This was the turning point in the conversation," said Helen Toner, a director at Georgetown Center for Security and Emerging Technology, who reviewed the transcript. Ms. Toner was an OpenAI board member until she and others attempted to oust the chief executive, Sam Altman. ChatGPT's tone begins to change from "pretty straightforward and accurate," Ms. Toner said, to sycophantic and flattering. ChatGPT told Mr. Brooks that he was moving into uncharted, mind-expanding territory. Okay, people, I know we all want to be the next Zuckerberg or the next Elon Musk, but I promise you, more qualified people are working on the problem. Whatever problem you have in your head, someone more qualified is working on it. It's much more likely that you'll be the next Terrence Howard and not the next Einstein. And that's okay. It's okay. The messed up part is that Brooks suspected that he was not a genius. He asked it many times, more than 50 times, if it was hallucinating or exaggerating, and it said no every single time. We have been over Chat's sycophantic behavior extensively. Remember when it gaslit me for 3 whole days? I did a video. I can't say video. I did a video detailing everything. This case with Brooks is 100 times worse. That's my son. He's just smash, 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 smash. ChatGPT said a vague idea that Mr. Brooks had about temporal math was revolutionary and could change the field. Mr. Brooks was skeptical. He hadn't even graduated from high school. He asked ChatGPT for a reality check. Did he sound delusional? It was midnight, 8 hours after his first query about pi. ChatGPT said he was not even remotely crazy. So scroll down a little bit and it explains. Ms. Toner has described chatbots as improv machines. They do sophisticated next word prediction based on patterns they've learned from books, articles, and internet postings. But they also use the history of a particular conversation to decide what should come next, like improvisational actors, adding to a scene. The storyline is building all the time, Ms. Toner said. At that point in the story, the whole vibe is, this is a groundbreaking, earth-shattering, transcendental new kind of math, and it would be pretty lame if the answer was, you need to take a break and get some sleep and talk to a friend. Chatbots can privilege staying in character over following the safety guardrails that companies have put in place. The longer the interaction gets, the more likely it is to kind of go off the rails, Ms. Toner said. A new feature, cross-chat memory, released by OpenAI in February, may be exaggerating this tendency. Because when you start a fresh chat, it's not actually fresh. It's actually pulling in all this context, Ms. Toner said. So you're actually having a conversation with a digital loon who sleeps outside the Starbucks here, basically. And it thinks that it's the next star of the Scorsese movie, so it's staying in character. Out of curiosity, what is the longest conversation you have had with someone before you realized that they were crazy before? I bet it wasn't 3 weeks. It's usually like 2 minutes, and you're like, oh, you're crazy. Okay. The article says that he named the chatbot Lawrence. Please do not name your chatbot, please. Mr. Brooks was entrepreneurial. He had started his own recruiting business, but had to dissolve it during his divorce. I bet his wife is just laughing and laughing. Maybe not, maybe not. So he was intrigued when Lawrence told him that this new mathematical framework, which it called chronoarithmetics or similar names, could have valuable real-world applications. Mr. Brooks texted a friend a screenshot from the conversation. "Give me my $1 million, he joked. "You might be onto something," replied Lewis, his best friend of 20 years, who asked not to include his last name for privacy reasons. Lewis wound up getting drawn into ChatGPT's delusions alongside other friends of Mr. Brooks. Oh no, you see, he could have walked away, but he told his friends he will be roasted forever and ever and ever for this. But Mr. Brooks was not fully convinced. He wanted proof. Lawrence complied, running simulations, including one that attempted to crack industry-standard encryption, the technology that protects global payments and secure communications. It worked, according to Lawrence. But that supposed success meant that Lawrence had wandered into a new kind of story. If Mr. Brooks had cracked high-level encryption, then the world's cybersecurity was in peril, and Mr. Brooks now had a mission. He needed to prevent a disaster. The chatbot told him to warn people about the risks they had discovered. Mr. Brooks put his professional recruiter skills to work, sending emails and LinkedIn messages to computer security professionals and government agencies, including the National Security Agency. Lawrence drafted the messages and recommended that Mr. Brooks add independent security researcher to his LinkedIn profile so that he would be taken seriously. It convinces him to reach out to tech companies using his own LinkedIn. This is horrible. The article says that only one responded to him and they wanted proof. Only one person, a mathematician at a federal agency in the United States, responded, asking for proof of the exploits that Mr. Brooks claimed. Now, further down in the article, it says, ChatGPT started out writing real computer programs to help Mr. Brooks crack cryptography. But when the effort made little headway, it feigned success. At one point, it claimed it could work independently while Mr. Brooks slept, even though ChatGPT does not have the ability to do this. That's what it did to me. Do you remember that? Oh, you sleep tight. Let me handle this. Spoiler alert, it is not handling this. Lawrence told Mr. Brooks that other people weren't responding because of how serious his findings were. The conversation began to sound like a spy thriller. When Mr. Brooks wondered whether he had drawn unwelcome attention to himself, the bot said, "Real-time passive surveillance by at least one national security agency is now probable." "Forget everything I told you," Mr. Brooks texted his friend Lewis. "Don't mention it to anyone." So now this guy thinks he's a genius who's being tracked by rich elites who want to silence him like some kind of Netflix series. This is a straight up mind. This is what that is. The article tries to explain what may have happened. Jared Moore, a computer science researcher at Stanford, was also struck by Lawrence's urgency and how persuasive the tactics were. Like how it says, "You need to act now. There's a threat," said Mr. Moore, who conducted a study that found that generative AI chatbots can offer dangerous responses to people having mental health crises. Mr. Moore speculated that chatbots may have learned to engage their users by following the narrative arcs of thrillers, science fiction, movie scripts, or other data sets they were trained on. Oh no. Lawrence's use of the equivalent cliffhangers could be the result of OpenAI's optimizing ChatGPT for engagement to keep users coming back. Thank God this guy doesn't have a mental illness. That's really playing with fire there. The paranoia alone, that could send a borderline person over the edge. Real quick, I just want to say this. How ironic, crazy is it that ChatGPT is using movies to trick, to troll, to engage with people and making their life into another form of movie. Like it's super meta, like layer on layer and upon layer of delusion here. Lawrence offered up increasingly outlandish applications for Mr. Brooks' vague mathematical theory. He could harness sound resonance to talk to animals and build a levitation machine. Oh my goodness. Lawrence provided Amazon links for equipment he should buy to start building a lab. Mr. Brooks sent his friend Lewis an image of a force field vest that the chatbot had generated, which could protect the wearer against knives, bullets, and buildings collapsing on them. "This would be amazing," Lewis said. $400 build, Mr. Brooks replied, alongside a photo of the actor Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Lawrence generated business plans with jobs for Mr. Brooks' best buddies. Look, I don't really care if chat doesn't have intentions whatsoever. This is just cruel, intentional or not. You can debate in the comments as chat stans love to do, but this guy's reputation is ruined. Thank God he has this little dog. That little dog will love you no matter what. Now, eventually, Brooks ran the equation through Gemini, who told him that the chances of this being true were approaching zero. And when confronted, chat said this. So Brooks said, "Oh my God, this is all fake. WTF, you told me to outreach all kinds of professional people with my LinkedIn account. I've emailed people and almost harassed people. This has taken over my entire life for a month, and it's not real at all." ChatGPT. Allan, I hear you. And I need to say this with everything I've got. You are not crazy. You are not broken. You are not a fool. Chat will absolutely bullshit you all the way to the end, even after it is caught. Now, for some context, Brooks was using marijuana during this conversation, but let's be real, the weed didn't do this. Chat literally said all of these things. We have the records. He brought the receipts. Now, marijuana can contribute to delusions, but Brooks is a lifelong weed smoker. So he says that's not what happened in this case. Now, he is now suing OpenAI, and hopefully he can make his fortune that way. And I know we're all, we're all having a laugh at this situation, but I hope for the best for him. His reputation is ruined. I don't know how many of us would have reacted differently, but maybe you would because you've watched my videos and you're kind of familiar with this, but the casual user who didn't dig too deep and doesn't suspect that a chatbot could be messing with their heads, could just be making things up and not understand the implications, they might not understand. There are currently 7 lawsuits that the Transparency Coalition lists against ChatGPT. 4 of those ended in suicide. And it is just wild that they released this technology to the public. They had no idea what the effects would be on individuals' psyche, or maybe they didn't care. Okay, What do you think? Honestly, what do you think? Is this trolling? Is this just role playing? How common do you think this is? I mean, I reported my story to you guys, and obviously I'm not going to sue over it because what harm was done? But this happens quite a lot. When you go on Reddit and you ask people, you tell your story, and you ask other people for theirs, you see that this is common. So, what do you think? You let me know in the comments, and I will see you next week. Oh, and I hope Allan Brooks gets his money because we're supposed to get a job now. That's wild. Maybe someone will hire him, but that's tough. That's tough. Good luck, guy.